Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Welcome back for another edition of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. Join your host, Bill Alvstad, and co-host, sports writer and football analyst Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Fans, welcome back to another edition of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with Keith Myers, and we're going to talk some Seahawks, looking at the upcoming Rams at the Seahawks Thursday night football. Welcome in, Keith.
Yeah, Thursday night football. God, I hate Thursday night games.
Brutal.
I mean, it's fun to have a game, Thursday night where you can turn on some football, have it on when, you're doing stuff around the house and whatnot. But having the Seahawks play on Thursday night is terrible. There's no game planning to be had. I mean, not really. Because there's no practices. So
yeah, no practices, and you're just basically carrying over from the previous game, and you're hoping that you don't have a lot of injuries.
Yeah, because there's no time to recover. Everyone goes into that game sore and banged up. You've had a couple of walkthroughs, and that's the only practice time you've had. Everything is truncated, like even your film room time and that kind of stuff.
Switching this to like a Friday night game would be better. Now I know you're competing with all the high school games out there in the world or whatever, but it just makes so much more sense for the players to give them an extra day. So yeah. Anyway. This is a big game now. So Seahawks come off of a win at the 49ers. And so now we have 2 wins under our belt, sitting at 2-2. The Rams come in at 3-1. They fell to the Arizona Cardinals at home in a game that wasn't even really close, in that the Rams scored late. Didn't really matter. Arizona was up by 34 points, or had scored 34 points in 3 quarters against the Rams, essentially. And, so now the Rams come in to Lumen Field. What's going to happen, Keith? Like, how big is this game? What does it mean? Did the Seahawks now have a better shot at this game than they did prior to the 49er game, considering what the Rams faced against Arizona and kind of failed?
I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to give teams a roadmap, right? This is how we attacked them, and it worked. Because when you look at what they did, Arizona went punt on their first drive, but then touchdown, punt, field goal, touchdown, field goal. Like, read that. Like, there's one punt other than the first drive. There's one punt in between there. It's all scoring drives until the end of the game. Like, they were just able to move the ball and put up points over and over again. And that really put the pressure on the Rams offense, and they couldn't keep up. Part of it was, if you look at theirs, right, 2 of their first 4 drives were turnovers. And that just puts you put your defense in a bad spot. You give the other team a short field. The Cardinals capitalized on both of those and got them into the end zone. And so you have you end up down a bunch early because of a couple of mistakes with the football, and then you're just making it easy on the other team. You have to throw to get yourself back in it. You take part of your offense out of it. It just is it's a situation where it's like, okay, any team can win if the opposing team gives you 2 turnovers, deep in their own end zone. And so it's, it is a situation where the Rams screwed it up. They made it easy on Arizona, and Arizona took advantage.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams has a couple of weaknesses. Their linebackers, and then their secondary. Now, when you look at their secondary on paper, you're thinking, well, that's a pretty good strength. Yeah, it is. I mean, Jalen Ramsey back there is Really good athlete. Leonard Floyd's there, Aaron Donald. Those are the core players that they've built this defense around. Everyone else is kind of a bit part in this thing. And what I meant by the linebackers is, they just don't play very physical, and they're out of position a lot. And on the back end, they're fairly small. And when I talk
except for Jalen Ramsey.
except for Jalen Ramsey, but really there's nobody else back there. And so when you're talking about matchups, I was talking in our 49er show earlier this week about Colby Parkinson. And a guy like Colby Parkinson might have a significant role in a game like this, because you have DK Metcalf on one side, and anybody else that has any stature whatsoever is going to have a mismatch against the Rams defense. And Colby Parkinson would be a perfect example of that, as well as if Gerald Everett were to play, or Disley. Those guys will have, some mismatches and could potentially take advantage of something like that. You can move the ball on the Rams. Yeah.
Even Freddie Swain. And so what you've got with the Rams is they're really good at Jalen Ramsey. They can take away a receiver, a side of the field. Last year, they had Jalen Ramsey chase DK Metcalf all over the field all game long.
DK Metcalf has got to have this game circled on his calendar all off season.
But so it's one of those things where Metcalf might be frustrated and all of that. And the Seahawks need, if that's going to be what they do, other people are open. I mean, Lockett could have a massive game. Freddie Swain could have a massive game. Will Disley and Colby Parkinson could have big games. Because outside of Jalen Ramsey, they're not as good. But Ramsey is really good.
Well, the other way to neutralize... Go ahead, Keith.
I would say, he's one of the only guys in the NFL right now that could neutralize a guy like DK Metcalf.
One of the ways that you can help mitigate the defense is to have a good running game going. And with Carson and Collins now established, I think that you'll see Seattle trying to run the ball on this defense. The Cardinals were very successful. Kyler Murray had some runs, and then Connor ran the ball really well, and Chase Edmonds had 12 carries for 120 yards. Connor had the ball.
Big 54-yard run, too.
Yeah, 18 carries, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So they were very effective in short yard space. They were able to extend drives, convert third downs. Seattle's going to want to have that same game plan against the Rams, because you don't want to be giving the ball too much to Matthew Stafford. But, up until this last game, Matthew Stafford was having one of the best statistical years or seasons of any quarterback. And in this particular offense with Sean McVay, he's going to get those opportunities to really extend drives and just get more opportunities by converting third downs and so forth. And they're very good at that. So one of the things that you're going to need to do is try to figure out how you can get pressure on Stafford in this game. And so far, the Rams have done a stellar job on protecting him. I think they've only allowed 3 sacks. They really only gave up like 4 or 5 pressures against Arizona. Arizona was still able to get some pressures and nonetheless, and kind of force some timing issues and cover receivers really pretty well. And Stafford has a tendency in those situations to either throw over the top of receivers or throw at the feet of receivers. And I think, Seattle wants to be able to kind of force him into those situations.
Oh, absolutely. If they can find a way to get pressure, and they may have to bring extra guys to do it, but if they can get pressure, I mean, Stafford's not he's not Trey Lance or Kyler Murray as far as a runner. Like, he's not going to make you.
He'll pick up some short yardage first downs, but he's not going to be a breakaway threat.
No, not at all. And he just doesn't have that kind of speed. And so you can come after him a little bit. You can, really kind of put some pressure on him. You just got to be able to cover behind it. And
you have to worry about Darrell Henderson too.
Yeah. In the first 3 weeks, I would have said the Seahawks can't bring pressure against this because Cooper Kupp's going to eat behind behind that blitz, because you blitz and Kupp's going to just get those short completions for 8 yards here, 12 yards there, 10 yards here, and just eat up against Seattle. But what we saw this last week against San Francisco, with the changes they made, with Ryan Neal playing and with Sidney Jones playing,
and Marquise Blair is available.
Marquise Blair, he got some snaps in there too. The defense was significantly better without Flowers and Amadi, with the changes that were made. So maybe you can get away with bringing some pressure. And
well, I was going to say, actually, I had written down in my notes Jamal Murray, or Jamal Adams. Sorry,
there you go.
Jamal Adams and pressure, because we haven't really seen a lot of blitz packages with Jamal Adams yet this year, in favor of just playing fairly straight ahead vanilla type defense. And this may be one of those games where you selectively bring Adams in to create some havoc, because they've proven that regular blitzing is not getting defenses to Stafford. And we already know that pressure and disrupting timing and so forth already creates havoc for Stafford, and he doesn't perform as well. So somehow or another, we need to overcome their protection, which is awesome, with the need to get those pressures and to get some of that disruption, because the key to this game is likely going to be turnovers. And if Seattle can generate a couple of turnovers on defense and give Russell Wilson the ball, give him an extra opportunity or two to have the ball and go down and score, that could be the difference in this game.
Well, and that was the difference in the 49er game, right? The Seahawks didn't turn it over, and they were able to collect 2 turnovers from San Francisco. And what happened? It led to a fairly easy, cruise in the second half to a win. And that they have not been collecting turnovers until that game. Diggs had that interception. That's the only interception that anyone in Seattle has had in 4 games. Like that's just not going to cut it.
They've been getting some fumbles, and their physical play has been causing some of the disruption with that. But the interceptions are huge, and that would be great, because on paper, originally we were thinking maybe our defensive line and our pass rush was going to be somewhat formidable, like getting in close to 40 sacks in a season. And when you have 40 sacks, you're causing disruption and turnovers, and we just haven't seen that. We just haven't been able to get quite there yet. Dunlap's been so close on a couple of different times and just hasn't been able to finish the deal. I did notice that Alton Robinson is getting even more snaps right now than Darrell Taylor.
And he's earned it. He has.
And Darrell Taylor's earned his time out there as well.
True. And the two of them together, both those guys are playing pretty well. I just think Alton Robinson might be playing the best out of any defensive lineman, like for the Seahawks at the moment.
How can we get him home? Like, what steps can we take to create a situation where he's got a mismatch so that he can take advantage of it?
There's all sorts of things that you can do. You can set him up and you can stunt him inside so that he's up against a guard that can't keep up with him. You can, he is playing strong side linebacker at times, so you can bring him off the edge where he's got the tight end on that side. Or, him against the tight end is a mismatch. And if the tight end is expected to release, then he's going to have, an initial bump and then a clean shot on the quarterback. And so they can move him around, and they can do some of that kind of stuff just to get him a little cleaner shot at the quarterback. But they don't need to. I mean, he has been effective just lining up at defensive end and getting after it. I'd like to see them get back to getting more pressure up the middle. Al Woods played really well in this last game, but this is a team that needs a guy like Monet to come back and
or Kimdichie to really start getting some penetration.
Yeah, something where they need a little bit of help in the center, and they just aren't getting what we were hoping for out of the interior of the line.
Jerron Reed. Hello. What happened? Where'd he
No.
go?
Yeah, but see,
We could use that guy.
well, kind of. I mean,
I mean,
Reed,
7 sacks in a season from the interior is something we could use.
true, but what was his pass rush percentage? His ability to get pressure regularly, it was never that good. It was just when he got the opportunity, he managed to get the tackle. But a lot of those were created by guys coming around the outside and pushing a quarterback up into him.
All right. Let's talk overall strategy. So
Okay.
before this last game with the Cardinals, the Rams rankings I've got posted below: 27th in rushing, 6th in passing, 3rd in points overall. How do you slow down this team from scoring? The Seahawks seem to be more effective in a red zone defense than they are just kind of giving up yards throughout in between the 20s. And then on the other side of the ball, how do we make sure that we're still converting third downs to give Russell Wilson the opportunity to have the most opportunities to score in this game?
Well, let's just start with the Rams offense. I mean, the Rams offense is it's better and it's more dynamic with Stafford. And also, you got Jefferson, who's really emerged as the third receiver to go with Woods and Cup, and then you got Henderson as the tight end, him and Higbee, giving Stafford some outlets. There's just a lot of weapons for Stafford to just spread the ball out and take what the defense gives him. And so the key there is just you can't just not give him anything because nobody's that good. There's too many weapons. And so you got to get after him. You got to take away some of his options by just not letting him get that far in his progression. So you've got to get after him, you got to pressure him, and you got to cover.
Yeah.
And
well,
you
Cooper
got to
Kupp
cover
came
better.
into week 4 leading the NFL in receptions at 25 yards, 367 and touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, we got to figure out who's going to defend Cooper Kupp. Who's it going to be? Who can stay on Cooper Kupp in our defense?
Yeah, I don't know. Can anyone cover Cooper Kupp? I mean, it's going to end up. I think it's going to end up landing mostly on a guy like Sidney Jones or Ryan Neal.
Which is just crazy to me, but it is what it is. I mean, that's who we have.
Yep.
Which makes it even more important to bring Jamal Adams on a blitz as often as you can, I think, because you're going to have to take some chances in this game. We saw that the taking chances is just completely adverse to what Pete Carroll likes to do. But we showed what happened in the first 3 weeks when the Seahawks play vanilla and just kind of play everything in front of them and don't allow these big plays over the top. Teams just kind of say, okay, we'll do that.
Okay, yeah, we'll have an 8-minute drive for a touchdown.
And Cooper Kupp and those guys are just perfect at that. I mean, that's what this entire offense is designed to do. But now you add Stafford to that, where he does have a little bit of an arm. He can get the ball downfield.
Yeah, because you got Woods and Jefferson that can stretch the field, and it just opens up even more
a good
space.
offensive line. And now you have Henderson. I mean, if they had Akers, this thing would kind of almost be unstoppable. But Darrell Henderson really does give them an opportunity too to stretch the defense horizontally, and so it's a very well designed offense. I just think that we're going to need to outscore them. I'm not anticipating doing what the Cardinals were able to do, but maybe they do. But it seems like this is going to be a high scoring affair more than it would be a low scoring affair.
Yeah, because Seattle is gonna struggle to stop this offense. And it's just one of those things. It's going to be Seattle just doesn't match up well in terms of where Seattle's strengths are defensively. Darrell
Henderson ran the ball 12 times for 89 yards against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have a very fairly decent defense this year. So that does worry me a little bit.
Yeah, but a lot of the reason why he had, and I have it as 14 attempts for 89 yards, but that's still a 6.4 average. But part of that is that they, when he was running, a lot of those runs came when Arizona was either bringing a blitz, and so once he got past the first wave, there was a lot of open field, or they were in dime defense, and so you're running against a pass defense, and you just don't have enough people to fill the lanes. So I think that his running stats in that game are inflated because of the fact that Arizona was up big because of the early turnovers that the Rams made. On the other side of the ball, though, I mean, the Rams come in. This is a team that's built around three players, right? You've got obviously Aaron Donald up front, who's unblockable and just eats teams for lunch because he's the best defensive player in the NFL. Jalen Ramsey on the back end as a cornerback, who's probably a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. And then Floyd coming off the edge and as a pass rusher and, from the linebacker spot.
Yeah.
Those,
that's it, really.
Those three guys everything's built around those three guys. And they make it really hard on other teams because with two guys coming up, attacking, or one on the interior and one on the exterior of the offensive line, it makes quarterbacks really antsy and wanting to get rid of the ball very quickly. But you can't get it to your best target because Jalen Ramsey has that taken away. And so it makes it hard on teams, and you have to be patient. You have to be willing to roll your quarterback out, which the Seahawks have shown a willingness to do.
So let me ask you this. So when the Cardinals face them, the Cardinals have the interesting offense where it's
run and shoot.
The run and shoot. Okay. So
which is a funny name because there's no running in the run and shoot.
Well, they've got a lot of stuff going on all over the place and all different levels. Yep. And is that the way that you beat the Rams? Is you just kind of Shane Waldron? This will be a very interesting matchup for Shane Waldron, because he knows this defense really well.
He does.
And conversely, they know our offense really well. And so it's going to be a very much of a challenge of teams that know each other pretty well, what they want to do, what they want to try to do philosophically, and try to outmaneuver them.
So I said run and shoot. I mean, it is, but it's not. Technically, they would say air raid is the offense. But
that's the term I was looking for.
There's not a huge schematic difference between the old run and shoot, which was June Jones, and air raid, which is Mike Leach, as the father of those particular schemes. But whatever. I mean,
and both hailed from the Northwest too. Love that.
When I look at this is one of the things that Waldron can do is to kind of break tendency a little bit and run when he's got the Rams thinking he's going to pass. And, typically I was like, okay, we like to run this set of route concepts and instead start him in that direction and then have somebody break off and run a different route concept because the Rams are going to be keying on certain things because they're going to be like, all right, so this is in our offense when we're at practice, this is what we look for.
They just don't have a lot of time to put that in this week unless they've already done it.
Unless they've already done it. And that's really what it comes down to is if you've already put that in because it was part of your stuff in training camp, then you just call those plays. If you haven't already put it in, you're probably only going to have one or two plays that you can add during walkthrough that are completely new.
Because you could use the same sort of play calling against the 49ers too, so you really could take advantage of that. That's 4 games a year that you could potentially kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so what are your thoughts? Like, let's talk about game time predictions here. So first of all, we're going to come back with a reaction show. I think we decided after the game. So we're going to
right after the game, Thursday night
after the game, directly putting this thing out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. So look out for that. We'll send out links as we get closer. So talk to me a little bit about some predictions on how this thing's going to go.
You start first.
Okay. Well, I think I need to stay true to what I said earlier in that I think this is going to be a higher scoring affair. And, the Rams are a higher scoring team. They're going to score and can score over 30 points on a decent defense. Do we have a decent defense yet? I'm not even sure, right? We're just not quite there yet. I don't even know. So to me, them reaching 30 points is, without turnovers coming into play, is pretty doable, I think. Now, conversely, can we score 30 points on their defense? That's really what it's going to come down to. I think that we can if we play within our scheme and we play some of our best ball of the year, because that's what it's going to take. You're facing probably the best team that we've faced so far this season at home, coming off of a win, a nice little momentum builder within the division. This is kind of one of those games that kind of sets your season up for either struggle or success. And so I think that I can't bet against my own team. I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I think that the Seahawks are perfectly capable of scoring like 34, 36 points in this game. But it's going to all have to come together. They're going to need a turnover. They're going to need to convert like 60 to 65% of their third down conversions. They're going to need to have a big game from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to have to probably end up throwing for about 400 yards in this game, 350 to 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. The running game is going to have to be effective, at least kind of at the tail end of this game, where they can kind of run out the clock in a couple of drives. So it all has to kind of come together for me. So I'm saying 34-31 Seahawks.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
That's a huge scoring game. I mean, really, that's just kind of absurd. I can't even believe that came out of my mouth.
The thing is, I'm not sure that the Seahawks can put up those kind of points against this defense, because if you take their best receiver, DK Metcalf, out of the game because with Jalen Ramsey, and then with Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, I mean, Leonard Floyd has made a career sacking Russell Wilson. He's not had that many sacks other than in games when he's playing Seattle. But he just lives in Seattle's backfield. And Aaron Donald lives in every team's backfield. And I just think that what I've seen from Seattle in the last couple of years is they just don't make the corrections. They don't do the little things to where you can actually have success against those guys. And they end up letting them just do too much and cause too much.
But this is the entire reason that Shane Waldron was hired, is to face this team in this situation.
And I'll tell you, let me say 2 words on this. Kyle Fuller. Right?
He played okay against the 49ers, I have to say. He
played okay. That's his best game of the year, and he wasn't terrible for the first time. Now he's facing the mountain. Now he's Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's going to eat him. Aaron Donald's going to eat him for lunch.
I'm sure that they've figured out a way to kind of help Kyle Fuller a little bit. Let's not put it all on him, but nonetheless, tell me what you're thinking.
I'm just thinking, like, this particular combination has never been good for Russell Wilson in Seattle. He just has a hard time getting going with Donald and Floyd coming at him. And he typically gives up a lot of sacks against those two guys. And I just have a hard time seeing Seattle keeping up because of that. And they should be able to. They should be able to scheme.
Oh, gosh. I mean, quick ball, getting the ball out quick, all that kind of stuff.
Getting the ball out.
That's exactly why Shane Waldron was coming in. I hate to see your prediction come true. Where
a lot of jet sweeps away from from Floyd, and getting those guys moving sideways and tiring them out.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to see it in this game. I mean, obviously.
I'm if it wasn't the short week, the Thursday night, I'd be a little more a little less skeptical.
That plays in our favor as well.
I don't think it plays in our favor. I think because in order to have success here, you've got to break convention against what you normally would do, and you don't have time for it. I think if they had a normal week, they could put in a game plan that would be really slick and attack the Rams in ways that is different than what the Rams are expecting them to do, and they could come out and have some success early and change it. But with the short week and the game planning,
give me your doom score, Doommeister.
34-27, with Seattle picking up a garbage time score.
Wow, yeah, that is doomy. Realistic, as bad as I have to say that score is, it is a realistic option that could happen. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm right. I hope you're wrong.
I absolutely would. I would love to be wrong.
That live show on Thursday after the game will be a lot more fun if we win.
Yes,
I hope you're wrong.
That live show on Thursday after a win is going to be me going, "Yay, I was wrong!" And it's like cheering and whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, this team needs to prove me wrong, and I'm a little more pessimistic and more cynical than you are. But you know what? That's my job. I get to do that because, well, that's who I am. I'm a cynical sports fan.
Well, there we go. Well, we're going to find out. So follow Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. I'm at NW Seahawk. The show is at Hawks Playbook. Seahawksplaybook.com has all the shows. Find us on your favorite podcast app, YouTube, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's go get a win. Let's go prove Keith wrong. Get a win. Come back here after the game Thursday, talk about it live, and we'll have a great show. So until next time, go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.